Oh, yeah. It is Plate and Ponder Empty Nesting with Jen and Chris Fenton. We're on for another episode, and if you do listen to us, please follow, download, review, enjoy. Just wanted to give a shout out to our 37 countries out there that are listening to us on a podcast by podcast basis. That's the US, Canada, Germany, Singapore, UK, Saudi Arabia, Ireland, France, Japan, Netherlands, India, Sweden, Mexico.
Sweden's new now?
It might be. Taiwan, the Seychelles.
Wait,
we talked
Taiwan?
about that. Yes, Taiwan is there.
No way.
Which is actually China in Beijing's point of view. But
So
we're going
do
to
we
call it
get-
Taiwan because we call it its own independent country. Ban us, I dare you, Beijing.
So I was going to ask, do we get to count it in our list or do we have to subtract?
No, we're counting Taiwan.
Okay.
We're just not in China. So, you know what?
Well, maybe
Shout
that's
out to Taiwan.
because
You guys are
they-
independent and we will come to your defense.
Maybe that's because they read your book.
Ooh, yes. Feeding the Dragon Inside the $1 Trillion Dilemma Facing Hollywood, the NBA, and American Business. Shout out to Bangladesh, Hong Kong, Israel, Russian Federation.
I think nobody wants you to read the list.
No,
I
I'm
think
going to read
they're
it.
over
Italy, Portugal, Kyrgyzstan, Taiwan, Vietnam, Denmark, Argentina, Greece, Switzerland,
Chris,
New Zealand,
stop.
Australia, Spain,
Chris,
Hungary,
stop.
Cayman Islands, South Korea,
Chris,
Virgin Islands, Egypt,
stop.
and Colombia.
Chris, stop.
All right,
It literally
I'm done.
took me 7 times to say that. Like, honestly, sometimes you get into something and you repeat yourself, much like the song lyrics. No.
Oh my God, this sounds like a good way to kick off another episode.
I just feel like you don't listen to me.
Well, the music has stopped.
Yeah, because you know I'm angry.
All right, what are we talking about today?
Well, I'm going to maybe not do this
Are we
podcast.
having a heated rivalry right
well,
now?
I'm just going to say that I might not do this podcast and I might go finish and watch the last episode of Heated Rivalry.
Wait, it's almost done, thank goodness.
No, not thank goodness. It is amazing.
Wait, how many
There's
more?
6 episodes.
Oh.
And maybe, did we watch episode 4 last night? Did I convince you to watch
I
episode
watched
4?
one episode too long.
No, you did
And
not.
I didn't even watch a whole
I am
episode.
telling you, you are so wrong. You are not giving this show a chance. And I understand because, you know, on its surface, it is gay porn. I'm going to just say that. It is a forbidden love story between 2 hockey players. And, you know, you've got sports, you've got masculinity, you've got athleticism, you've got competition, you've got different locations, right? They're at the Olympics, they're in Canada, and there's like flirty texting, and there's lust. And I'm telling you, it's actually a beautiful love story if you break it down like that. And I am not the only person that thinks it. If you go online, if you go to Instagram, it is scroll upon scroll upon scroll of people saying that this show is amazing. I am late to the game. I just started watching it, but I'm telling you, it's freaking amazing. And the actors are amazing. The fact that one of the actors plays, you know, somebody, a Russian hockey player, and legitimately sounds like he's from Russia.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
The acting is
It's
solid,
really
but
good.
you're not going to get me into this show.
Okay,
I'm not.
Well,
there.
I'm gonna give you some more
And I
background.
just don't know if it.
And that's
I wonder if it
fine.
appeals to the masses. I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
okay, so to
I know
that
you're
point,
in the rabbit hole.
To that point, I will say, the show was, I guess, originally purchased by a
Crave.
U.S.
By US?
It was by a U.S. buyer, but. And it had like a much bigger budget. But I think that it was a little too racy for the US, which I understand based on how I started the description. And the director and the creator was like, no, you're going to stifle how I want to tell the story. So they shopped it around and they took it to Canada. And they made it in Canada for actually a fraction of the budget. But it is just, it's beautiful. I'm sorry. It is a beautiful love story.
Yes.
I know you're not going to agree with me.
I do. I mean, I like the sports stuff, but I just don't. I don't know if it's definitely not made for me. So put it that way.
And I totally respect that.
And on top of it, it feels like, you know what it feels like is like a Ryan Murphy show, right? Nip Tuck,
yes, sure,
those things.
Sure,
right?
sure, but probably racier given the subject matter.
Yes, it definitely goes beyond the edge. What is it on HBO here?
It's on HBO Max.
Yeah. And I would imagine it plays well on the coast. Probably not great interior.
I'm
don't know.
sure, people in Texas and Georgia and Oklahoma and Alabama probably want nothing to do with it, and maybe they know nothing about it. I'll give you that.
I'm just a big fan of stuff that is water cooler for the country. I
so
feel
this
like
actually is the water cooler.
It is.
Now, maybe not for the country, but
yeah.
it is definitely water cooler. So many people are talking about it. I mean, I texted Kaylee. I'm like, oh my God, have you seen Heated Rivalry? It is so good. She's
Do college kids watch it?
Well, Kaylee can't watch it because she doesn't get HBO Max.
Right.
Maybe we haven't given her the subscription information. Is that possible?
Yeah.
She said she doesn't get that platform.
She's too young to watch that show.
I don't know about that.
It's racy.
Will you acknowledge that the actors are good?
I think the actors are good. I think it's a literally 50 Shades of Grey, which was not a movie I would watch, but I respected how much the book sold and how many people were into it.
So do you remember when I read that book and I told you about it, and then we went to a party and everybody was talking about it? I'm like, see, I told you this book is really good. Yes, it's racy. And you agreed, and I think did you even read? I can't remember. Did you read it?
I read it in a night because I saw it as a potential franchise, and I tried to get the rights. And this was a couple months before it got really hot, but the agent wasn't quite ready to do anything, and ultimately I did not get the rights as a producer. I think Mike DeLuca actually, and Kevin. It might have been Kevin Spacey's company and Mike DeLuca.
I don't remember.
Anyway, yeah. Anyway, I respect the edge that it has. I respect what they wanted to have the creative freedom that they did, and I definitely can see why it has a big audience. It's just not my audience.
And I totally understand. I do have a question though, and this is from somebody who's not in the business. If you have a very kind of, it's definitely a subject matter that can be divisive, right? It is I think a lot of the women out there are the audience more than men. Is that something that if you were presented with some material, that would be a red flag for you, knowing that half of your audience is probably not interested in it just based on the context, and maybe they watch it and they're like, okay, there's great character development, okay, it's a cool story, okay, there's athleticism, there's hockey, all that stuff, but upon like first entry, would that deter you from material?
I think it is so hard to create film and television or write a book or whatever it is, anything in the creative space. I think you have to really believe in your soul is something that you want to bring to life in whatever that platform and audience is. And I think even if I saw a potential audience for this type of material, it wouldn't have been something I would have chased, because it just doesn't speak to me. I don't think I could have told it with a passion and a vigor that you need as a creative. Obviously I wouldn't have been the filmmaker behind it, but I would have been part of the producing crew. It's just not for me. I have to focus on the things that appeal to what I would love to enjoy, what I think people around the country and around the world might enjoy, and quite frankly, I like things that actually call to people to do something higher with their lives. Like I really love these shows, like say a Friday Night Lights or a Chariots of Fire, or even pro-America movies like a Top Gun. I love that. In fact, I think there's a real need for that type of story out there nowadays, because we are divided as a country, and I think we need to start to use the soft power apparatus of Hollywood to bring us together, to rally around the flag a bit, and then on top of it, to get people around the world behind the types of content that we do and the freedoms that the United States of America represents. I think we've lost our way a bit there. So anyway, that's my answer to that.
Okay, that's fair.
I will say that
I'm not crazy.
I know you're 100% not
like,
crazy.
Have you on text threads? Have you asked other husbands or other people in the industry if they're watching?
I've asked other husbands if they've suffered through the show, and I'm getting the same kind of reaction for the most part. So, I look, and that's the other thing about content out there and storytelling. There's storytelling that appeals to the masses. Although there's a lot of storytelling that no longer does. There's stars that used to that no longer do. There's such things as movie stars that don't really exist anymore. And we're seeing, somebody like Mr. Beast get as many people watching their content as, say, a Tom Cruise. And we'll see, Ninja 2 out of China get.
What's that?
That was the biggest film of the year last year in China that made over $2 billion just in that market. We'll see Ninja 2, which literally no one here in the US would care about seeing. It was one of the highest grossing movies of all time anywhere in the world. In fact, it well outgrossed what this latest Avatar movie is doing. So,
how is that movie doing? Does it have the legs that it thought? Or are people not watching 3.5 hours like we did?
Well, we watched it. I think we marveled at the filmmaking and the effects and the spectacle of it. I think for you and I, we felt like that movie went on a little too long. It would have been nice to see it in 100 minutes rather than like 200 minutes. But it's gonna do well over $1 billion. I think it will do over $1.5 billion. But compared to the other Avatars, it's falling quite a bit behind. So it's not going to do what Avatar 1 and 2 did.
Is that because it's 3.5 hours?
Well, the other movies were just as long. I think the excitement around this universe has waned a bit, and there's generations that would have normally gone to a movie like this that are now not going to movies as much, and there's also a whole generation that never even was around when that first movie came out, I believe in 2008. So that would be people that were that are literally 18 years old were just being born when that movie came out. Sort of crazy. It makes us feel a little old.
Wow.
Yeah,
I just did that math, and I feel old. I mean, we've got 19-year-old kids. That doesn't make me feel old, but what you just said for some reason does.
Well, imagine what Jim Cameron feels like,
this has been his life. Do you think if you asked him, this would be his greatest project?
Well, I do know, and this is like a bit of a humble brag, having gone to his house, and talked with him at length about our work on one of the last Terminator movies with him, which was a fantastic experience. He, Avatar is the greatest universe he's created in his filmmaking career, which says a lot, and that's the way he sees it. And I even have that signed Avatar book from him, which is sort of cool, right? But think about it. Like 18 years ago, that first movie came out, he probably set forth writing this world, writing these characters, writing this journey, probably 25 years ago. When you think about it, it's unbelievable to think of.
When was the Titanic?
Titanic
not the
was
actual
1997, I think. 97, and that was the highest grossing movie ever at the time. I believe that did over $1 billion.
I was a freshman in college.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable, right?
Wow.
And he did those Terminator movies, and it's a pretty awesome career, to say the least. And I believe he's making 3 more Avatar movies. How about that?
Wait, how old is he?
He's older than me.
Okay.
I don't know how much older. He's probably 20 years. He's probably 74. I don't know. You could probably look it up on the intranet.
I probably could, but I'm actually not going to. I'm now doing the math of, I know how long these movies take to make. How on earth, I mean, God bless him, is he going to live that long? And I'm not wishing James Cameron ill will.
Well, first of all, he's got lots of money, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's got some sort of like blood transfusions from like 21-year-olds,
some like vampire thing.
Yeah, and he still lives an extremely adventurous life. Going to the bottom of the ocean and the marinara. Is it the marinara? Trench.
sauce.
Marianas Trench. Marianas Trench.
Oh, I think we watched a Netflix documentary on that.
Yeah, it's deep.
Yeah.
Put it that way. It's deep.
No pun.
He's almost like a Richard Branson. In a way.
I can
very
see that.
Adventurous.
Yeah, but I feel like he's a little more intellectual. Although Richard Branson is very smart.
What's crazy is his studio where he shot all the Avatar is like literally like a mile from where we are right now.
That is true.
Which is sort of cool.
Okay, I'm going to change topics.
Yes, let's change topics.
And you're going to see.
I think we're moving off of Heated Rivalry, which I'm very excited about.
I'm going to watch the next episode tonight. No, Okay, though, stop. Here's my question, and it kind of goes, it's a similar vein. Sensationalism, news cycles, right? There is so much news that we are getting hit with, whether it is, stuff about Ozempic, whether it's, Candace Owens and her releasing videos about Erica Kirk after Charlie Kirk's murder, whether it's Luigi, what's his name, who killed
Luigi Mangione. What happened to that guy?
Who killed the insurance CEO, to the Beckhams.
An absolute terrible story.
Okay, but to the Beckhams, to what's happening in Minnesota. And
about the attempted assassinations on our president.
Sure. So
Butler, Pennsylvania, then the one down in West
Venezuela.
Palm Beach.
Venezuela came and gone. I haven't heard anything about Venezuela.
That's true. Madeira.
So here's my question. It feels like we are in this crazy, great acceleration of the news cycle. And I think we're living in a time, and I don't know if it's because of all the platforms that are now out there, right? You don't just have your 3 broadcasts. You don't just have your newspapers. You've got internet. You've got Twitter or X. You've got Facebook, LinkedIn. I just aged myself. You have YouTube. You've got Snap, all of those things, right? But we're living in this world where celebrity gossip and actual news, like are we going to war, is given the same time and marketplace, right? And I think that we have to make a fundamental distinction between something like the Beckhams and Brooklyn Beckham saying, I don't want to be part of this family, and what's happening in Minnesota with ICE.
So you're saying, first of all, I'm 100% on board with the news cycle being this complete attention deficit disorder insanity where we hear the headline, we hear this story when it initially happens, and then we literally have zero follow-up unless it continues to create dissension between Americans, right? Like this ICE issue in Minneapolis, that has, I guess, held the news cycle for probably a good week, maybe longer, mainly because it seems to be drawing in audiences that are yelling at each other.
No,
right?
I think it has bigger issues. I think it's got bigger themes and more complex topics.
Well, there's a lot of big things that go away pretty quick.
Okay, but this is about the economy. This is about human rights. This is about geography. This is about political unity. This is about a lot of things. More than just, for instance, Luigi killing a CEO of an insurance company.
Well, I would argue Luigi is that story, Mangione, was...
I can never remember his name, so thank you.
Well, first of all, it was about lawlessness and vigilante, I would say terrorism, because it wasn't justice. There's no justice in killing an innocent man on a
just
street
walking
in New York
yeah.
City. Now, what happened is they got bifurcated between the people who saw that as a absolutely horrible murder and other people that saw it as a justified murder because of, and these are the bigger issues, the have and have not, the polarization of have and have nots, the ability to actually afford health care, if not even be able to find providers that will take care of you in times of health, in bad health. The fact that people are fighting furiously with health insurance companies to essentially get the medicines and the surgery that a loved one might need. Those were all the big issues, and they wanted to take it out on the fact that these insurance companies are the big, bad, evil doers that are taking advantage of Americans at the expense of American lives. And that was one side of the equation. The other side of the equation is just somebody feeling right to go kill somebody on a street that is a father and has family members and honestly is just running the company the best way he can. It's a systemic problem, this healthcare issue. And that's the issue that bothered me about the news cycle, right? Like all it did was it told that story when it happened. It created this big drama around the chase to find this guy who killed him. And then it divided the nation between those who thought it was justified and those that saw it was flat out criminal murder, right? And then after that, there was no follow-up about, well, why do people see it in two different spectrums? Like, why is that? I'm not saying it's right to see it as anything other than murder, but it was interesting that dialogue just completely died on the vine, because if we actually dug into that and understood
it's complex with many layers,
right?
With lots to unpack, 100%. But I think the difference with Luigi versus Minnesota is Luigi kind of had like an end to the story, right? He killed the guy. There was the chase to find Luigi, and then they found Luigi, and he went to jail.
Well, he went to jail, and this happened in 2024.
I understand that, but I'm just talking about sort of a closed cycle, whereas Minnesota still feels very open. It still feels like there's a lot to rationalize. There's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to understand. There's a lot to argue. I mean, you have people on both sides of the aisle saying what's happening is not okay.
And
right?
I 100%.
So that's not a closed story. This is something that we're still dealing with. Whereas Luigi and the insurance guy, like, okay, he killed him and now he's in jail. Yes, it was in 2024, but there seems to be some finite kind of wrap it up.
Well, but that's what the media is trying to get you to feel, I feel like, right?
So
like,
am I being manipulated?
No, but I'm just saying they're so good at getting us to forget about these stories, right? Like, why? First of all, has anybody said, why haven't we heard about Mangione in a trial or anything? Is he even going on trial? Like, this happened in 2024. We're in 2026 now. Like, this is insane, right? And on top of it, has there been any discourse whatsoever on Capitol Hill about, yeah, maybe United Healthcare is exemplary of the problems of the healthcare system, and the fact that we maybe need to address this, because yes, some unhinged people might feel like it's justified to just randomly kill a C-suite individual from an insurance company.
I don't think anybody in their right mind thinks that.
Oh, then you didn't look at social media after that happened.
Well, I clearly follow, social media that's about heated rivalry,
right,
and not about that.
No, there were a lot of people that thought it was justified, the same way when Charlie Kirk was killed. There were a lot of people that felt like that was justified too.
How is justifying?
And by the way, what happened to Charlie Kirk's? Has there been any stories about that?
Isn't it alleged? Because Candace Owens, if you listen to her at all, there was some sort of conspiracy about it, right?
Yes, and
I'm not saying she's right. I'm putting it out.
There's
there
a lot of tinfoil hat stuff out there, which, by the way, a lot of these tinfoil hat things end up becoming the reality. Like, so it's hard to understand what's gaslighting on these things and what actually the reality is. But the fact is, there's no investigative journalism that even tries to uncover the truth, let alone tries to stay on the story. So we're kept up to speed with what happened to this guy. Like, is he going on trial? Like, were there any other accomplices? Like, who was the guy that was cheering when it happened? Like, who were the red herrings that were pretending like they were the shooters and had all the cops like on them while the other guy got away?
The hand signals that they were doing.
Yeah, like speaking. What? I mean, is that all off limits to talk about? And then on top of it, I go back even before that with the Butler, Pennsylvania thing. Like, what? I mean, whether you love Trump or hate Trump, that story was crazy. How it just went away when there was so many weird things. Like, his whole house was scrubbed. He had been to the FBI a bunch of times. He had interaction with, various private equity firms through like commercials that he starred in or whatever. Like, there was all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah.
So there was no follow-up. Like,
Well,
just
maybe
follow
there
up on
is,
it.
and we just don't
And by the way,
know.
another one. Minneapolis, there were 2 state senators that were gunned down at their house.
That's right. What
happened to that guy? Like, it's unbelievable that there's like literally no follow up on this stuff. And if there is, maybe it's just like a teeny. I mean, I'm not saying there is, but if there was, it would have been some teeny little announcement that obviously doesn't show up on my news feed. And I get a news feed, you know me, like I have Washington Post, New York Times, Fox, New York Post,
on top of
LA
a ton
Times,
of different
Wall Street
blogs.
Journal. I have them all on they all hit me with all the headlines, and I see them every day, and I'm not seeing any of those stories.
Is it because there's this gradual decline in interest? Because something like, Brooklyn Beckham gains more eyeballs, hits, likes, reads?
Well, let me ask you this. Is journalism about chasing what everybody wants to see as news, that everybody's interested in news? Or is journalism about figuring out the news, researching the news, investigating the news, and getting people understanding what actually happened and interesting them into the topic?
I think that's what it was, but I think it has changed to how you started the question.
This could be the beginning of many episodes of talking about this kind of stuff, because honestly, it is what is dividing the nation. The fact that we are not.
I think there's other things dividing the nation.
No, but
let's be real.
No, but the media is not helping anything. The media is very good at dividing people, gaslighting, particular, research or investigative journalism, right? That might be on the right scent or might not. I don't know. I mean, where's the Jeffrey Epstein stuff?
Yeah, what happened? That fizzled out.
It's illegal that they have not disclosed any of it. It's illegal as of like 40 days ago. It was supposed to all be out there.
Well, what's
Where
the
is that?
saying? I mean, look, you work in the industry. We know a lot of publicists. And if there's bad press about a client, the publicist's line is usually like, okay, as soon as the next news cycle, you'll be out of mind, out of sight. Right? It is kind of a known fact that you just wait for somebody else to screw up. You wait for another hat to drop. You wait for another story to be sensationalized and blow up in your face, and you quietly exit stage left.
Well, or as the late and great J.C. Spink would say, I miss him.
I know.
Shout out to J.C. Spink up there in the heavens. He would say any press is good press. So, he would,
how you look at it, glass half full,
he would
glass half
embrace
empty.
the Epstein files, even if he had photos in there. He'd probably figure out a way
to
get
them out. He'd be like, look, I was on Lolita Express.
Yeah, well, he had his vices, but it definitely wasn't
young girls.
The unbelievable,
no.
terrible stuff that was happening there.
That is horrible.
But yeah, he would have figured out a way to like, I have a photo. I'm going to make sure everybody knows about it and build the business off of that. Like he would figure that out. But
can't you see him making a photocopy and putting it like on the refrigerator, on every cabinet? You walk into
on
his
the cover
office,
of Daily Variety,
and he would be like, "Look, there I am."
Spink and Jeffrey Epstein open production company. But anyway, by the way, that kid's heart was huge, like a lion, and he would have not ever been involved with any of that stuff. But
no.
I'm just the point is that even the worst press, he could figure out how to turn into something great. And I just think that we have a lot of questions about a lot of things that have created a lot of suspicions. From the populace, the majority of people, about the system of government, the system of justice, even the system of financial industry that runs our country, that runs the world. And until you get clarity, until you open up the skies, you give it sunshine, right? It just festers.
Well, here's a question for you. If every sort of presentation of news was like 60 Minutes, I'm just going to use that as an example of a platform, right? Where you've got your serious subjects at the start of the show or the broadcast, And then you go into the fluff piece, right? Like the 90-year-old grandma who bakes cakes for every fifth grader who graduates.
That's like the old CBS
Right?
Sunday morning news or whatever
So
that
if
Barry
you-
Weiss is not doing anymore.
But if you replicated that format and you sort of put all these crisis stories, i.e. immigration reform, i.e. war, i.e. problem with healthcare, things like that at the start of the program, and then you had these like cultural pieces, i.e. the Beckhams, i.e. what is Harry Styles doing, who is he dating, things like that towards the end of the broadcast, the program, the newspaper. Do you think it would help the public differentiate sort of the important pieces versus the fluff?
I think...
Right. I know that's such a basic way of asking it, but that format makes so much sense, right? Like, that when it's approaching, the 55-minute mark and there's a little segment, it is a fluff piece.
Yeah, I think first of all, I would say the average person, if there is such a thing, is so preoccupied with their daily existence that for the most part, they only have so much time to consume news and information that might be on a global scale, a national scale, or on a local scale. I would say for the most part, if they do digest news and information, typically it's about what affects them directly, which tends to be local news. That's why local news does so well, and why you see local news now occupy 4 hours in the morning, 2 hours at lunchtime and another 4 hours at night. It's unbelievable how much local news there is, but people will tune into that to figure out what their local weather is, their local traffic, what the local, criminal, burglary, murder story is, etc., because it could affect them directly. But then when you branch out to national news, I think people start to fade a bit because they're thinking about, how do I get my kids to school? How do I pay for this? How do I get food on the table? What's for dinner tonight? Oh, what do I do about walking the pet who's been at the house all day? Grandma got Alzheimer's. I got to deal with that. Oh, we got this, healthcare bill. Oh, I got a kid who needs braces. Oh, it's college time. Whatever it is, like they're thinking about. Self-interest is a massive part of being a human, right? So if you think about that limited time where they're going to digest news and information, it probably is only stuff that only applies to their self-interest. Then they want to be entertained or feel like they have an escape. So you're going to watch Heated Rivalry. I'll watch college football. I'll digest different. Selling Sunset, and you'll watch Real Housewives or whatever it is, right? Then if you have a little extra time, you might go, well, what's happening in the news nationally? What's happening in the news globally? And that is a very small amount of the time that people will digest news. So those news sources are trying to grab their eyeballs as any way they can. And unfortunately, they're not grabbing them in a way that's all that constructive. I think we need to perhaps use journalism, if there is such a way to do it, to train people to go, okay, in that 10 minutes that you might have during a day to digest really important information, you have to digest really important information. You can't read about your favorite celebrity that got caught with another woman at some nightclub in Hollywood.
Does that still happen? I feel like we don't get that news anymore.
Well, that's news we probably don't pay attention to as much anymore. I know TMZ.
Does TMZ still exist?
Still exists. Access Hollywood and all those shows, they're still around. I know I've been to the supermarket. We divide those chores a lot, and it seems like those magazines are there at the checkout counter. In fact, those might be the only actually hard copy magazines that actually make any business anymore.
Do you remember when you were younger, or even when we were younger, you would go to the market and you would go to checkout, and there was Star, and there was Okay, and Us,
and Sassy,
In Touch, and there was every title you could think of at that sort of little kiosk.
Daily Mirror.
All of that, right at the checkout section. Now, honestly, when we go to Gelson's, I don't
I don't think
recall?
Gelson's even has magazine. Vaughn's does, and Pavilions.
Really, though?
Yeah.
I feel like they don't.
Yeah, they do. They do. I always look at it. In fact, sometimes I text you. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that Ellen DeGeneres left for Ireland, is no longer an American, or whatever it is. Like, that kind of stuff. Or, oh, Tom Arnold is at it again. That kind of stuff.
Wow, how did you just pull that
I don't
name
know.
out?
He was
That is
always in
random.
Wasn't he always in those magazines for
my
whatever?
gosh.
I don't know. I remember Tom Arnold. Every once in a while, I had to do a deal with him because my boss represented him back in the day, and I remember we had a mandatory sexual harassment seminar that was being run by Human Resources for young agents, and we were in there in the conference room, and it was like a very sort of serious moment, and he walks in and he goes, "Oh, sorry, wrong room," and then he looks up on the screen and he goes, "Sexual harassment? Oh my God, I could tell you lots of stories about how I've sexually harassed people." And I'm like, oh my God.
No.
Yeah, it was really funny, actually.
No, sexual harassment is
No,
never
I
funny.
mean, it's not fun. I mean, it was funny in the way it was so ridiculously out of line, I guess. But it was also the 90s, too. Where
so it was okay in the 90s
No,
for
it wasn't.
Harvey Weinstein to harass and abuse?
Come on. Like, no, it was never right at any point in time. But I'm just saying it was Tom Arnold walking in at the most awkward moment to make a joke like that. And none of us laughed. But
laughed.
When I think about it 35 years later or whatever, yeah, I'm laughing about it because I'm like, how ridiculous is that? Oh my gosh, I'm going to get in trouble for talking about this story.
Yeah, you are.
Oh gosh. Anyway, it was Tom
We're
Arnold.
gonna start this. We started the podcast with me asking you to stop. How many times? I'm like, Chris, stop, Chris, stop, Chris, stop. And I feel like we're gonna end the podcast with me saying, Chris, stop, Chris, come on, you gotta stop.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how we're gonna end today.
The bottom line is yes, harassment at any level is terrible.
Thank you for the PSA now.
Yes, it is 100% terrible. I apologize for laughing at something that happened 30 years ago with Tom Arnold, who
I think we need to wrap this.
I think you might be right.
I feel like you are going to get yourself in more trouble.
You know what? All I can say is I absolutely love having conversations with you while we plate and ponder. Sorry I opened a beer while we were doing that, but I needed a little drink after all this banter between my beautiful wife and myself. So I will say, all 37 countries that listen to us, thank you again. We will try to get the video working. I got to tell you, the CTO, the Chief Technology Officer of Plate and Ponder, almost drove his wife crazy last night trying to figure it out. So we gave up and we went back to audio, but we will get there. I promise you. And we will have some great interviews to come. So till next time.
Good night.
Good night and thank you.